Hello, in this video I'm going to describe planetary configurations that occur in the charts of spiritual gurus, people who have that title in their life, that their position in life, their job, you might say, is to be a spiritual teacher, typically from the Hindu or Eastern tradition, and using the term guru. Now, whether they are enlightened or what state of mind they have is not the issue here. What I'm focusing on is just people who have that title and that position in their lives. So this is part 6 and the last. We have 6 parts to this series of videos on Vedic Vargas versus vibrational astrology. And this is the last, part 6 in this series. I've included it in our discussion of Vedic Vargas because Vedic astrology and the Hindu tradition and other traditions of India, that's where Vedic astrology comes from, or Jyotish. So I think it's appropriate to discuss a Jyotish religious or spiritual tradition in this context. So let's look at the charts of spiritual gurus. It's fascinating. Do they have something in common in their charts? They do. And here are the themes that show up in the charts of these spiritual gurus. 7, the meditation, stillness, and discipline. So those gurus who emphasize being quiet, becoming still. 7 vibration. The emphasis on transcendence and enlightenment. Where does that come from? Often 13 vibration. Something that transcends the norm. So we'll often see that. Also, what I don't think I mentioned in this series, but I mentioned in other videos, is we've more recently discovered 43 vibration. Even though I'm making this video on December 1st, 2020, these videos, this video I'm making now in this series is based on information that I've only shared one other time at a Sedona Vedic Astrology Conference, and at the time I had not yet discovered the way 43 vibration works, and it's often relevant to spiritual enlightenment. I mentioned that in some more recent videos, and they are available here on Astrology DC on spiritual astrology. But anyway, 7 and 13, later I found also 43, show up very strong, in other words, strong planetary configurations in the charts of spiritual teachers and gurus. And I did a Google search for spiritual teachers, and the ones that I found who had an influence on the West, came to the United States, are Swami A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada. He's the fellow who started and was the leader and the guru of the Hare Krishna movement. His emphasis is devotional love. I think everybody's familiar with the Hare Krishna movement. He's the founder, the guru, the leader. There was a fellow who had a sudden burst into fame and leadership and then faded out quickly, but back in the 60s, and he is mentioned on some of the websites as a spiritual guru who influenced the West, who's Guru Maharaji. A quote here, meteoric rise, started to decline almost as quickly. Swami Muktananda, many of you are familiar with him, another spiritual guru with the traditions from India, coming to the United States. At the height of it, had 80 meditation centers and refers to them as Siddha Yoga. Muktananda is very controversial. I have the birth time accuracy for these 3 people is A, which means it's not from a birth certificate or birth record. But reasonably accurate, but not as perfectly accurate as we would like from a birth certificate or birth record. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, among the first to arrive in the West. The Beatles had met with him. He does transcendental meditation, very popular. We do not have good birth data for him. And Swami Satchidananda, who emphasized bodily control and research and had shown up at Woodstock. We don't have data for him. There's also Vivekananda, who introduced Vedanta and yoga, a highly respected person, less controversial than some of the others. AA data. There's Yogananda, of course, Autobiography of a Yogi, the Self-Realization Fellowship, emphasis on Kriya Yoga, widely respected. We have A data for him. Amrit Desai, who started a center called Kripalu Center, emphasized Shaktipat, guru lineage, celibacy, and was involved in adultery. So some controversy and difficulty there. A data. And Rajneesh, also known as Osho, who had a commune that did various therapies, involved in legal battles, very charismatic, very controversial. A data. When I say controversial, it means some people love him, some people hate him, right? Some people see the person as a great guru and, great leader and lifting people up, and other people say, whoa, this is a cult where people are getting brainwashed and going downhill. So, whatever your opinion is on that. But that's what's going on. And here's what I found out for the people that have A or AA data, that Prabhupada, who emphasizes devotional love and so on, he has 13 vibration conspicuous. Amrit Desai, 7 and 13. Amrit Desai, a little more emphasis on the meditation, the celibacy, the control, the Hare Krishna movement, more of the devotion and things like that. Muktananda, where there was severe discipline for himself, and a lot of emphasis on transcendence. He has strong 7, 13, and a 91. 7 times 13. I can show you the charts. I think I do show you them to you. I'm not sure if I have all of these, but I'll show you. I think I have all of them. I'll show them to you. You'll see what I mean by strong. Vivekananda, more of a teacher than a guru. He also has 7 and 91. Yogananda also has 7 and 13 more. Actually, what I'm showing here is what I expected. I had expected Prabhupada would have 13. The result is he does have 13. I expected Amrit Desai may have 7 and 13. He does have 13. I expected Muktananda might have 7, 13, or 91. He has 91. I expected Vivekananda might have 7 and 91. He has 91. So actually among the first 4, I expected 7 with many of them, but they didn't have it. They have 13 or 91. Yogananda has all 3. Strong 7, 13, and 91. Rajneesh, the outlaw guru, I figured he might have 13. He has none. We don't have a perfect time, but if he was born 30 minutes earlier, he has a strong 13. I suspect he was born at least 30 minutes earlier and has strong 13. Because, wow, is he ever 13? 13 also shows up in mafia people. 13 makes its own laws. And Rajneesh, he did his own thing. So he's a very 13-oriented person. In other videos, I've also shown that his enlightenment experience shows up with a 43 vibration. Maharaji, I figured he might have 13. I was surprised he had 7, not 13. So the results confirmed what I expected. 7, 13, or 91. A few surprises. Maharaji has 7, not 13. But you get the consistent results confirming pretty much what we expect. And more emphasis on 13 and 91, not as much on 7. It's only Yogananda and Maharaji that have 7. So this is why we do the research. We see some things we expect, 13, also 91, very strong. Not as much emphasis on 7 as I thought. So from an astrological viewpoint, we're seeing a lot of emphasis on being special, stepping outside the normal domain of life. Not as much emphasis on the discipline, the practice. Like you would get in athletics, practice. The depth. More emphasis on wake up and get out of the sleep of normal everyday life. In retrospect, that probably makes sense. Many of these gurus are doing popular things, getting the message across, not, emphasizing the rigor as much. It's bringing people who are not involved in meditation or and an interest in transcendence into it. So maybe in retrospect it makes sense. My main point is that these vibrations do show up in the charts of spiritual gurus. And to show you some examples, here's Prabhupada's 13 vibration, and we see planets at 10 through 13 degrees. And what do we have here? We have Sun trine Saturn, and Mars is trine Sun. Mars is square the Sun, and Uranus is square Saturn. So basically we have a trine and two other planets squaring the trine. It's a spreading pattern, but we're seeing some emphasis on the transcendence 13 vibration. That's a strong configuration. Here's Amrit Desai. His 13 vibrations through the roof. My God. Neptune, Saturn, Uranus, Venus, all within 11 degrees. Huge 13 vibration. And then Moon coming in and Pluto coming in, making some trines to some of the planets. An enormous powerful vibration. Interesting, Venus, Uranus, which is associated with excitement, sexuality, music. His critically important controversial thing that happened was that he was involved in affairs with some of his devotees, and we see here the Venus-Uranus involved. Okay, here's Muktananda, 91 vibration. 91 vibration is often involved in a really deep, profound path of inner work and to develop something special and unique. And he has a very strong configuration of Moon, Saturn, and Mars within 6 degrees, and some of these connecting to other planets. Mars also connected to Sun and Neptune in a very exact sextile trine. So I'm just reviewing quickly some of the kinds of things that we see that are important. Also has a second configuration here of Pluto, Mercury, and Uranus aspected to each other. This is a sextile trine configuration. But this is the one that involves more planets, 3 and another 3 that overlap. Here's Vivekananda and his 91 vibration, and we're seeing in his 91 vibration Saturn, Jupiter, Sun, all at 5 degrees, and Uranus, 4 planets at 5 degrees. Wow, huge 91 vibration. When you have 4 planets at the same degree, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars. And then Sun not too far away, at 7 degrees in orb to some of these planets. So, Jupiter-Uranus opposition, if you look at some of the details of this, Jupiter's opposition Uranus, that leads to enthusiasm, often leads to success, and the Mars-Saturn, this Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus inclines to success and building hard work to build something successful. You've got Mars-Saturn, you've got Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, leads to a good sense of design, development, growth. It's a general success combination, and he was very successful in bringing, he was born in 1863. He's one of the originals. Again, highly respected, not as controversial in building a movement. He helped build a successful movement to bring this awareness to the West. Very, very, very strong 91 vibration. So one of the things we got from this research is 91 vibration. Very strong, also often 13. Yogananda, one of the most influential, probably I think definitely less controversial than some of the others, highly respected. Here's his 7 vibration. He's one of the few who has a very strong 7 vibration with Moon and Venus at 23 degrees and the Neptune-Pluto conjunction at 20 and 26 and Saturn at 21. So we've got planets spreading from 21 to 25 degrees and many of them within orb. It's a strong configuration. It's also a mystical configuration. Neptune and Pluto here are opposition the Moon. Moon, Neptune, Pluto opposition. In 7 vibration, very much inclined to be deeply thoughtful, meditative, and he spent a lot of time in seclusion, wrote his book Cosmic Chance. So here we have the depth that goes with 7 vibration. He also has very strong 13 vibration with Saturn and Uranus trine Venus. And this, I think, relates to his childhood Mukunda. If you read his book, Autobiography of a Yogi, he was a little bit of a rascal as a kid. When leave home and want to go to the Himalayas, he gets bored with mundane affairs. Yearns for something liberating. He doesn't want to sit in school, so he's got that 7 vibration to be quiet, but he's got this Saturn Uranus in 13 vibration. He wants to go. He wants to break out of things. It fits his personality and his life. Also notice Mars here, square the Saturn Uranus. This is definitely somebody who's not, I think his father was in banking. He's not going to follow his father in banking with Mars square Saturn. He wants to, go to the Himalayas and become enlightened, go on this great adventure. Now, it makes me laugh because he's Mukunda and he shares that side of himself as he grows up. So we see that these configurations describe the specific qualities of a person, in addition to general things that people tend to have in common. And his 91 vibration is extremely strong. Oh my goodness, look at this thing. Unbelievable. He's got 5 planets spreading from 10 to 13 degrees, all kinds of aspects going on here. There's a T-square of Sun, Mars, Neptune, Saturn. Wow, that's like a fingerprint of somebody inclined to a spiritual path of transformation through discipline. Sun, Mars, Saturn, Neptune in 91 vibration. It's almost destined that's going to happen. So, I won't go into the details of that, but we look at Saturn, just a little bit. Saturn, Neptune in vibrational astrology shows what's really important to you. It's a key to your spiritual path, what you can focus on for your highest ideal. He's got Sun and Mars. This is what he does for 91. Inner discipline to transform. It's striking. It's really, really profoundly striking. So the point is, from the viewpoint of any kind of astrology, but here we're focusing on relating vibrational to Vedic, these Vargas, these additional harmonic charts, vitally important. And when we get to these higher vibrations, like 91, 13 times 7, we get a very specific quality. Inner work in order to transform. It's almost a definition of what Kriya Yoga is. Inner work to transform. And here we see a Sun, Mars, Saturn, Neptune T-square. Unbelievable. Unbelievably how clearly it describes the life of the person. And here's Rajneesh, 13 vibration, the outlaw guru who breaks all the rules with strong 13 vibration. This is for a birth time of 513. The birth time of 513 puts his moon at 20 degrees Virgo. If we move it back to 4:43, 30 minutes earlier, puts the moon here at 16 Virgo. And at 16 Virgo, his moon is within 2 degrees of squaring Pluto. Within 1 degree of opposition Mars, we end up with a moon, Mars, Pluto, and 13 vibration. That sounds like Rajneesh. Moon, Mars, Pluto, 13 vibration. Compulsive need, can't hold back from breaking out of the mold of everybody else. And the moon is, quincunx Neptune. I believe he was born 30 minutes earlier, roughly. That would move his moon in the 13 vibration back from 20 Virgo to 16 Virgo and really amplify this configuration, put 4 planets together. It's strong even at the birth time he was born. But extreme behavior, extreme personalities, having big impact comes from extreme patterns. So this is all to give you some idea of how these configurations work. I think this is my last example, Maharaji, with a strong 7 vibration, which surprised me. Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, very, very tight. And also the Mars at 13 is within orb of opposition to Jupiter, Saturn. So some emphasis there on going within and being deep. Sun, Jupiter, Saturn means the ability to plan, design. It's like an architect. It's like somebody who's just quietly strategizing. Ability to strategize. It's someone who puts puzzles together, things like this. Well, maybe that's not so surprising. It really isn't. But it wasn't on my list of things for gurus. Of course, he's a different kind of guru. He was only a guru for a few years when he was very young. So, just to give you some idea of how we use vibrational charts and how, from a Vedic astrology viewpoint, you can get insights into things. A comment about spiritual gurus and our spiritual path. Spiritual gifts are expressed in many ways. Each person finds his or her own way. To emphasize this, let's think about Yogananda, who has this extremely strong 91 vibration, Sun, Mars, Saturn, Neptune in T-square. Wow, describes his life. And maybe you're thinking, gee, I wish I had that because I would like to be on a path of enlightenment and able to really move forward faster. Well, I don't think you have to be jealous or wish you had a different chart. Think of it this way. Yogananda surprised many people when he dedicated his book, Autobiography of Yogi, quote, to the memory of Luther Burbank, an American saint. Many devotees of Yogananda were really surprised. They talk about this like, Luther Burbank, this botanist, is a saint? What the heck? And Yogananda surprised them because from the viewpoint of Yogananda, Burbank is a saint. He lived a simple life, dedicated, dedicated to the good of all. This is a saint. He lived a saintly life. He meditated. He thought deeply. He communicated with the plants. He lived very simple, not extravagantly. Any path, whatever gifts we have, dedicated to the good of all and channeling the highest potential, that is the perfect life. So the perfect life doesn't always manifest as someone who's a spiritual teacher like Yogananda. It can manifest in different ways. So there's a real lesson there, I think, in that dedication from Yogananda. Okay. And just to wrap this up, you will also see these vibrations in compatibility. And to just give you an example, after Muktananda died, a brother and sister became his successors. The sister is Chid Vilasananda. Chid Vilasananda, yes, I said that right. Some people dispute the birth time of Chid Vilasananda, but according to his birth time, what we're seeing here is I have Muktananda's 91 vibration in the inner ring, Chid Vilasananda's 91 vibration in the outer ring, and oh my goodness, wow! Chid Vilasananda has a 91 vibration that aligns straight away with Muktananda's 91 vibration. It's unbelievable. We get a Chid Vilasananda has a Moon, Mars, Saturn grand trine that connects with Muktananda's Uranus and Pluto, and what else? His Mercury. So at around 15 degrees, we have 3 planets, 15 to 15 and 16 degrees. Moon here is back at 12, but a lot of them around 15 to 16, everything else 15 to 16 degrees. 3 planets of Muktananda, 3 planets of Chid Vilasananda. They're all aspected to each other. These red things show the squares. In other words, Chid Vilasananda's Saturn, square Muktananda's Pluto. Her Mars, square his Mercury. Her Moon, square his Uranus. Wow. A grand trine. And whatever this configuration is for Muktananda, what is it? It's a sextile trine, all overlapping each other. This is the kind of thing that makes for very strong connections. Who ends up inheriting, continuing, being the person to continue this lineage? Chid Vilasananda. 91 vibration, that's the vibration of the Siddha Yoga movement. So this is very exciting stuff. Here's 2 people who are devotees of Yogananda and they're friends, and a comparison of their 13 vibration charts. They have same planet to same planet. Sun is conjunct Sun. Mars is opposite Mars. Jupiter is conjunct Jupiter. Saturn is conjunct Saturn. Even Pluto's trine Pluto. Same planet to same planet in these 2 friends who share their devotion to a spiritual path with Yogananda. And that's just another example. So I think that's pretty much it. Here's just a little more discussion about Amrita Sai. I've already talked about this. The emotional intensity and catharsis, Moon Pluto, all the details being of their lives showing up. Here's some more information about other kinds of things, 77 vibration. And so, to summarize, these vibrations, especially when you get into the high ones like 91, very specific. And when people connect, like Chid Vilasananda and Muktananda on 91 vibration, their very specific purpose in life, transcendence through inner attunement, connected together very closely. This makes for the special vibrations. We live in a beautiful, intricate vibrational universe. And in vibrational astrology, we're opening up our awareness. We're now seeing and understanding this. Okay, just a final comment here. How long am I into this video? A half hour. It's a fairly long video. But let me just say this on the origins of harmonic and vibrational astrology in Vedic astrology. So it's like our finale here of a 6-part series on Vargas, Vedic Vargas versus vibrational astrology. Let's take a final look at this. I mentioned this, in the first video, that the first clearly recorded reference to a zodiac that I know of is not from Babylonia. It's from the Rig Veda, 1700 to 1200 BC. Well, here's a quote I don't give earlier. A quote from the Rig Veda, going back to somewhere around 1500 BC. With 4 times 90 names, Vishnu sets in motion moving forces like a turning wheel. Note, 4 times 90 emphasizes the cardinal points. Moving forces, not static archetypes. So in 1500 BC, one of the oldest extant works, period, talking about what is astrology. 4 times 90 names Vishnu sets in motion, moving forces like a turning wheel. This is really interesting because in vibrational astrology, we emphasize that the astrology chart, in its most fundamental, primary basis, what it actually is movement, it's dynamics, it's vibrations. What are vibrations? They're moving vibrations. The archetypes, so if we say, the princess, the warrior, the great mother, well, they're involved in stories, but we can also have a static image, like a picture of them, like a painting of them. But those archetypes are born out of vibration, a spinning wheel of vibration. This is about as perfect of a poetic description of what vibrational astrology is from a very high spiritual viewpoint. And another idea in vibrational astrology is that astrology operates in a higher dimensional reality. I talk about this in a lot of other videos, but it operates in a higher dimensional reality and then manifests in our world. 90 names Vishnu sets in motion. Names, vibrations with meaning. The poetry of this is very profound. And of course, 4 times 90 is the 360 degrees. So this ancient poetry in the Rig Veda, to me, captures a really deep, profound, intuitive sensitivity to what we often talk about in vibrational astrology in more prosaic scientific terms. If we want to really become poetic about it, we can say that they are the 4 times 90 names that Vishnu sets in motion. It's kind of like, let your hair down, man. This is what we're talking about. The vibrations, the meanings, the divinity behind it. So, in a way, vibrational astrology is very, very in tune. A little pun there, I guess. I didn't intend it. In tune, in resonance with the poetry and messages of the Rig Veda. Here's another quote. The wheel of law with 12 spokes does not decay as it revolves around heaven. O fire, here your 720 suns abide. So here we have the half-degree sections, where each degree of the zodiac is divided into 2 pieces. And again, we're seeing the emphasis on the intricacy, the complexity of the sky. It's not just 12 sections of 30 degrees. The poetry is just exquisite. 12 spokes does not decay. The laws of nature do not decay. Law of gravity, prime numbers, these facts of life are viewed as being eternal. The 12 spokes do not decay. Revolving on this 5-spoked wheel, all beings stand. Though it carries a heavy load, its axle does not overheat. From of old, it does not break its ancient laws. And here we're seeing again, you can divide the sky into many pieces. And the beauty of the poetry is fantastic. though it carries a heavy load, its axle does not overheat. Yeah, it's just amazing. Saying the same thing as we say in vibrational astrology, these concepts originate in a higher dimensional reality and manifest in our physical world where there is mortality and things do overheat. And also the idea of a music of the spheres was pervasive. We all know that Ptolemy wrote his foundational book in Western astrology, Tetrabiblos. Ptolemy also wrote a book, Harmonics, which explains music theory and his ideas on a universal celestial music. My point here is the theme of this series of videos is Vedic astrology, Vedic Vargas versus vibrational charts, and that underneath the specific details, there's a philosophical similarity, a philosophical, almost identical perspective. And it's not just Vedic. We see it even in Ptolemy, kind of like a father of Western astrology, also talking about a music of the spheres, which is another way of thinking about what astrology fundamentally is, according to vibrational astrology. These subtoms and navamsa charts are already well developed when the Yavana Jataka appears. The 13th harmonic is an ancient Babylonian idea in ancient Babylonian astrology. So again, what I'm emphasizing here is that there is a continuity, a similarity, both philosophically and in terms of the specific technical details. Vibrational astrology is not so new and radically different as it seems. So conclusion, what I call vibrational astrology is simply, you could look at it as simply a development on Vargas in the ancient literature. And vibrational astrology did not start with Johannes Kepler, as some people like to say. So what we call vibrational astrology can be viewed as a branch of Vedic astrology. That's kind of a radical thing to say, but I hope you can appreciate why I say it. And it has integrated modern discoveries in science and mathematics, and it is an evidence-based approach. Lastly, there's so much going on with vibrational astrology. In addition to these tutorial videos and more people writing books and teaching, there's the annual Vibrational Astrology Conference. Okay, well we have now reached the end of our 6-part series on Vedic Vargas versus vibrational astrology. Final conclusion is that I think vibrational astrology is part of an ancient lineage, and in terms of the spirit of what's going on, we're more synchronized. We're more in resonance with an ancient tradition than it superficially may seem to be. It seems like we're introducing new ideas. I think we're following an ancient idea of simply using the principles and developing and working with them with what is available to us. And we're working with it in the 21st century in an information age where we have databases, we have extraordinary calculating power, we have research methods that didn't exist before. Thank you very much for listening, my friends. God bless. Namaste.